Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James. It's over. It's over. Cleveland is a city of champions once again. The Cavaliers are NBA champions.
That sound means it's time for Cavs on the Break NBA podcast. I am your host, Chase Smith, and with me, Cavs insider, national NBA writer, Sam Amico of AmicoHoops.net and ProHoopsDigest.com. Sam, you went to Game 4. How was Game 4, man? Cavs come away with the victory.
Well, that's what they needed to do. They played a very good first half, came out and had one of those clunkers of a third quarter again. Yep. But it seemed like whenever the Celtics kind of made a run, the Cavs would put their foot on the accelerator. And really, it almost made the Celtic runs seem like a bit of a formality. So, hey, 2-2, 3 games left, and you have LeBron James. You got to be feeling okay.
Baker Mayfield was in the house. Denzel Ward was in the house. Got a lot of –
Hugh Jackson was in the house.
Hugh Jackson was in the house.
Yep.
But watching the game, the Celtics missed a lot of layups, a lot of dunks. They missed a lot of shots. And the Cavs, they played pretty well. The only, I would say, bruise or blemish would be a really no offensive production from K-Love. But aside from that, you had guys hitting, and they really couldn't get over that 13-point lead. It seemed like the Celtics were always just hanging around.
The thing that was kind of funny to me was not funny, but interesting was I got a lot of tweets and feedback that, well, if this game had been in Boston, the Celtics would have won with the way they played. They missed a lot of, like you said, layups, and they missed at least 2 breakaway dunks, maybe 3.
Well, I think the block. They outright missed 2, and then they got, I think maybe
one was rejected. Yeah. But anyway, and that's very true. Maybe if it was in Boston, they would have won. But that's the beauty of the NBA playoffs is you don't get every game at home. You don't get every game on a neutral site. You've got to go out and win a road game if you really want to dominate a series. And, the Cavs don't have to worry about, in Boston, they'll make those dunks. The Cavs have to go back today, look at the film, which I'm sure they did, and said, you know what, we've got to not allow that to happen in Boston, because if it happens in Boston, we could be in trouble. But the bottom line is this series is 2-2.
Yep.
Boston has a feeling we can't win on the road. They're 1-6 in the playoffs on the road, and the team they beat was Philadelphia barely.
That was the confetti game.
Yes, and the Cavs know that they can win huge games on the road. They know it. They have LeBron James. They won a Game 7 of the NBA Finals with LeBron James. J.R. Smith was on that team. Tristan Thompson was on that team. Kevin Love was on that team. Those are 4 key cogs in what they're doing now, and those guys have no fear of their ability to win on the road. So all of that said, if that game was in Boston, Boston may have won. Who knows? But all we know now is it's 2-2 with 3 games left. Maybe 3 games left, and Cavs have LeBron James and Celtics don't.
The Cavs took care of business at home like they should. Really, even though the series is tied, really I think puts the Celtics back against the wall. If the Celtics, I think, wanted a chance in the series, they had to either win Game 3, which they lost by almost 40, right, or win Game 4. And if you're the Celtics, wouldn't you think that this is going to be we're going to throw everything we got, we're going to this has got to be the game we have to try to steal? And it just seemed like they came. I know they're super young, but the Cavs, they're playing well. They're playing well, Sam.
Well, the role players always play better at home, and that's true in the NBA since 1940s when the NBA started.
Is this going to be a thing, Sam? I didn't mean to cut you off, but is this going to be a thing where we're going to look back at the series really soon and say, man, we were so silly to think that the Celtics even had a chance?
It could be. It could be. But I hear you. I've thought that too. I'm like, is there going to be a time when we look at this series and say the Celtics went up 2-0 and the Cavs fans were worried and then the Cavs won 4 straight? I think that's a possibility. If the Cavs go into Boston, the Cavs can surely go into Boston and blow them out of the gym. They really could if they play the way they're capable of playing. Boston is going to scratch, claw, grab, shove, hold, complain to the refs, elbow. They're going to play, as Ty Lue said, they goon the game up. And that's okay because that's playoff basketball. That That's the only shot they have. They're not going to beat the Cavs playing just straight basketball because they don't have the talent or the experience to match up. But they play a very smart system. They move the basketball. Terry Rozier has been playing extremely well. And Jaylen Brown's been okay. He was better in Game 4 than Game 3 certainly, but he's still 10 of 23 from the field. I mean, those guys struggled. Marcus Smart really struggled. So, look, here's what the Cavs have to do to win in Boston. And I know we'll touch on this later, but it's simple. LeBron has to play like LeBron, and they need Kevin Love to play like Kevin Love and one other guy to step up. And they'll get a game in Boston, and then they could come home with 3-2 lead, feeling good, and series over.
Game 3 was a huge Cavs blowout. The Cavs had 6 players in double figures. They shot 17 of 34 from 3, and there's no one in the world who can beat the Cavs when they shoot like that. And this is, I think, Sam, a thing that gets overlooked. Kyle Korver was acquired last year at the trade deadline. Is that correct?
Yes.
So he last year only had just a couple months before, oh man, now you're in the playoffs with LeBron James. Now you give him a whole year with the team who I think LeBron loves playing with him. I think Korver is deadly, but we know he's legendary behind the arc, quick release, and he is scrappy on defense. This whole postseason, he gave the Pacers fits and really trying to make a name for himself. And he played great defense again last night. But whenever the Cavs get double digits from Tristan, from Larry Nance, from all these players, it's going to be really hard to beat this team. And I don't know. I think they're playing really, really well.
Yeah. Well, first of all, Larry Nance Jr., speaking of him, was in his first 6 minutes was a plus 12. Yep. I mean, he really went out there and made a difference. While he took one shot and made it and still had 7 points. Right. So he's making his free throws. He had 3 rebounds, and he did all that in 10 minutes. It seemed like he was out there 25 because he had some impact on the game. Yeah. Tristan had a phenomenal game in terms of really going above what they're hoping for him. But because Kevin Love struggled, it was important that Tristan, I think he was 6 of 10 from the field. George Hill had a very underrated game going 6 of 9 from the field. Yep. Both of them had 13 points. Tristan had 12 rebounds. So Love hit that big 3 at the end and then hit another shot at the end. A putback, a follow-up of his own miss. Those were both important baskets. Yeah. So I think that, yes, this team – and I'll get to Kyle Korver in a second, but this team needs those other role players, the other non-LeBrons, to come through with those type of performances on the road if they're going to have a shot in Game 5 or a Game 7 if necessary. But Korver, look, I thought when the guy came to the Cavs, and clearly the Atlanta Hawks did too, thought he was basically done. At that point, he's 35 years old. The Cavs only had to trade Mike Dunleavy, who was done at that point, to get Korver.
In a first round too, right? They traded a first round.
I'm not sure what the pick was. Did they trade a first rounder? I know that the Hawks wanted to get out of that contract.
Yeah. But it was a pick of some type, yeah.
Yeah, it might have been a second rounder. Or late. If it was a first rounder, it was,
Yeah.
It was going to be in the 20s.
Right.
But anyway, so the thing is that Korver really came here and nobody had high expectations of him. But LeBron has found him in spots when he's coming off those curls.
Yep.
When he's, and he squares up so quickly. He almost squares up while in the air.
Yep.
And can release it. He's got such a ultra quick release. I think he's been reborn with LeBron because of that ability to. LeBron finds you in your shooting pocket so often, and Korver only needs an inch to get a shot off. So. Yeah. And the other guys are finding him too. George Hill has been very good with Korver on the court. J.R. Smith actually has found Korver when Korver's on the court, even though they're not always on there together. They usually sub in and out. But I think that the backcourt has played well with Korver. They just need to keep him going, obviously, because he's become, if not their second option a lot of nights, at least their third. So they've kind of gone how he goes because he opens everything up. And if he's hitting his threes, then you got to worry about him. And then LeBron has an easier lane to the basket. So But you brought up a very good point in that his defense. I've thought, people, he can't guard. I've thought that's a wrong narrative that he's not a good defender. He's a scrappy defender. He's not a super athlete, but he's a scrappy defender. He's a smart defender. Yep. And name me one other player in the playoffs who blocked Jaylen Brown's shot twice in a half.
Right.
Nobody on Milwaukee, nobody on whoever they played in the second round, Philadelphia, not Joel Embiid, not the Greek Freak, nobody. You know who's done it? Kyle Korver. He had 3 blocked shots. So I think that there's a lot to be said for his heart and determination and just how well he's fit in largely thanks to LeBron James.
And Sam, you nailed it. Defense is all about effort. And every time there's a scrappy play on the Cavs defense, Korver is in the middle of it. And I think that effort is contagious. And whether it's a charge, whether it's just getting your hands up with a tip, Korver is very active on defense. And for a team that lacks that like defensive intensity, it really is a breath of fresh air to see him scrappy and making a play on defense. I think this is the Korver's first full season with the Cavs. People they forget that this guy wasn't with them when the title win. He had that playoff, but this is his first full season. So I think getting that under the belt, we're seeing like kind of vintage Kyle Korver, and we're going to need that moving forward. Sam, let's talk about Larry Nance a little bit, who has worked his way into a rotation, and I can't help but go back to Game 4 against the Raptors, where Coach Lou's going through the bench, kind of emptying his bench, and Hood declines to go in, right? Where this would have been a great opportunity to try to find a rhythm, to try to flash something, and maybe Nance made the most of that moment, Sam.
Well, and that's an excellent point, is that, you're never above getting some playing time.
Right.
I could see if it was 7 seconds left in the game and they put guys in, I don't think coaches should do that, but I think you're right. It can help you get back into a rhythm and just make you more comfortable out on the floor again, especially playing playoff basketball. Even 3 or 4 minutes against scrubs is a little bit of run against people other than your teammates. So, yeah, I think Nance has done very well with the minutes he's been given. What I would like to see Ty Lue do, which you can do once in a while, and I know he's scared because of the offensive limitations, but I'd like to see him play Larry Nance Jr. and Tristan Thompson at the same time sometimes. Yeah. They've actually bonded since Larry Nance Jr. came here. They've bonded. They work out together. And I think that
hopefully that's it.
Yeah, I don't think they party together. But I think that, they've gotten a good relationship. It would be interesting to see their chemistry.
Those 10 minutes he played were crucial minutes. They weren't like
absolutely
end of the game. They were, hey, like we have a 9-point lead, Nance, you're going in. Like those were huge minutes. And he showed up and he made splashes. You talked about it. It seemed like he played way more than 10 minutes. And I think his athleticism, his length, his defensive versatility, like that's going to be crucial. Not only I think is helping with this series, but in the finals, if and hopefully when we get there, whoever we play, we're going to need his athleticism to match against the West. I think, there was a time when after we got him in the season where he was a part of a rotation where there was like the best defensive rotation we've played. I can't remember exactly who was with that rotation, but the Cavs didn't play it much, and it's nice to kind of see him get into this rhythm and get some minutes here. Do you see that continuing moving forward?
You would think so. You would certainly think so because Kevin Love has not been great consistently. Jeff Green has been bad consistently. He couldn't get out of his own way in Game 4. He just took some bad shots. The one thing I like about Nance as opposed to Jeff Green is at least Nance knows not to shoot a lot of times, whereas Jeff Green will think I'm going to shoot here and he shouldn't take the shot. And there are nights Jeff Green is capable of getting you 20 points, but there's nights where he just disappears or hurts you, which there's a reason, and we like Jeff Green, but there's a reason he's played for 212 teams and is on a veteran minimum contract. It's because he's very up and down. Yeah. You never know what you're going to get from him. And but there are times, he was great against Toronto, so they need him to be better. But I think that at some point you just say, you know what, Larry Nance Jr. is going to get those minutes, because at the very least, Larry Nance Jr. is going to go in and try to rebound. He's going to alter shots at the rim.
Yep.
He's going to score off dunks. And I just think that you're right. His athleticism, Jeff Green gives you a better ball handler and a lot better outside shooter, but shoots just does not always make the right decision. And I think Larry Nance Jr. is better at that, at not hurting you.
It was super nice to see Tristan Thompson's game continuing to be at a high level. He started at the end of the Pacers series. Wasn't matchups that really favor that well for him in the Raptors series, but here in the Celtics series, he's really just shining. And again, he kind of owns Al Horford a little bit. Horford's played great, but just to see him continuing to play at that 2016 level is great. And then to have Nance come in has just been a huge boost for this Cavs team. I'm looking forward to him playing well in games 5 and 6 here. Rodney Hood, Sam, DNP. He's going to be upset.
Well, he's probably, first of all, unless he suddenly reemerges somehow, resurfaces, he's probably lost a lot of money in restricted free agency. I was thinking this is a guy that's going to get like $14-15 million a year when he first came to Cleveland. And I thought the Cavs are going to have a hard time keeping him, even though they could match any offer he gets. I thought they're going to have a hard time keeping him if he plays this well. Now, I don't know that any team's really going to – maybe someplace like Orlando or somewhere will give him more money than he probably has warranted. Yeah. And he'll probably play very well for a bad team. But he just he and Clarkson both have not been – and Clarkson at least is out there hustling and trying to do his thing. But
that's a good description.
Yeah. Well, look, Clarkson at least is out there trying to make something happen, even if it's just for himself. But that's how he plays. He's the guy that you want coming off the bench. Hey, go out there, take 5 shots in 5 minutes, and then come back. And he has no problem with that. But
YMCA Clarkson, man, doing his thing. I love it.
But at least Clarkson is, when he's out there, he's attacking. And I think Hood, he's lost his confidence, lost his way. Look, Chase, I put some of that on the coaching staff. Is why did the guy come here shot out of a cannon and he's gotten worse? Now, I know the playoffs are a different animal than the regular season, but he got worse before the playoffs. It wasn't a playoff thing. It's just the playoffs, have really, really exposed his weaknesses. Whereas the same thing with Larry Nance Jr. That guy was phenomenal when he first got here.
Yeah,
Cleveland, and has not been as good. And I think that part of that is on the coaching staff, not really on Ty Lue saying, here's your role, here's what we expect from you, here's what you're going to do, and we're going to keep you out there even if you don't do it because we believe in you. I just think it was, you got hurt, so I'm going to play Jeff Green because I love Jeff Green. And Ty Lue did the same thing with Richard Jefferson. Mm-hmm. He falls in love with these guys, and he did with J.R. Smith in the regular season and Tristan in the regular season.
Channing Frye too.
Well, the thing with Channing Frye was they were 18-1 at one point in the regular season, and then Tristan comes back from an injury, and Channing Frye goes to the bench and never sees light of day and then they go like 12-13.
Yep.
And then he finally brings Frye back, and it's just like, you as a coach. Maybe you don't have to be super into analytics, but at least look at the record.
Yeah.
Just by I would just say, you know what, we're 18-1. Even if Channing Frye doesn't have anything to do with it, I'm going to put him in there by superstition alone.
Right.
And I think that that's probably, to me, Ty's biggest flaw is sticking with guys who aren't getting the job done out of loyalty. And you know what loyalty is in the NBA? Loyalty is your paycheck. You get paid to play basketball. You don't need coddled. You don't need babied. It's we're paying you to do a job, and we're paying you very well to do a job. And if you don't do it, I'm going to have you sit here. But guess what? You'll still get paid. Still get paid. But we got to go with somebody who's doing the job, because this is all about trying to win a championship during our championship window. So when it comes to guys like Rodney Hood, if you're not getting it done, have a seat.
So Sam, does Ty Lue is he an advanced analytics coach, or is he kind of more of old school? Like, does he use advanced analytics?
No, I think, you know what, in today's NBA, everybody kind of uses it to some degree. They hear about it to some degree. I don't think I don't think he's a big analytics guy in terms of, okay, LeBron James, we got to get him 4 shots moving to the right with 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter because he makes 80% of them, that kind of stuff. But I think that he takes into account some of the things, but I honestly think he goes more on feel, and I think it's okay to go on feel if you have a good feel for what's going on, and I don't know that he does.
Yeah. So the adjustments he has made, starting Tristan with Indiana, playing Nance more, it seems like LeBron is quick to kind of take that credit. Yeah. With these post-game interviews, he's always clamoring, the guys that have been here before, who are working hard, who we've gone through these battles before. Are those really good adjustments coming from LeBron, or is Ty Lue really like, guys, I got this idea. Here's what we're going to do?
It's Ty Lue. I mean, he's making the calls in terms of lineups and rotations. I think if LeBron were dead set against it, he would probably passively aggressive approach it in the media.
Yeah.
LeBron's not going to, believe it or not, LeBron does not go to the coach and management and say, we should do this. He may say during a game, hey, put in Clarkson or put in Nance.
I did see he called a timeout last night.
Yeah. Well, I remember one time Ty Lue called a timeout, and LeBron was shaking his head like, why did you call that timeout? We were in such a good spot.
Yeah.
And LeBron was frustrated with the timeout when Ty Lue called it. I saw that.
Yeah.
But there are times, look, believe it or not, years ago when I was in college, I played college basketball, and I remember my teammates just telling the coach, and it wasn't an angry thing. It would be like, hey, put in this guy. This guy's our three-point shooter. Put in this guy. And the coach would be like, all right, you know what, you're right. Because you always want to do what's best for the team and what the players believe in.
Yeah.
Now sometimes as a coach, you got to say, no, I'm not doing that. This is what's going to work.
Yeah.
So, and I think that there's plenty of that going on with the Cavs and LeBron and all that stuff. So to his credit and to his dismay, Ty Lue does make the decisions on the lineup, the rotation, and all that, the 95% of the time.
Well, he's made some decent adjustments. We got to give him credit. He has made some good calls, and he's also made some head scratching calls. But let's move on to 5 and 6. Sam, we'll talk about these two. 7 is if necessary. Sam, who is one player that the Cavs need to focus on if we want to come away with a win in Game 5 in Boston?
Defensively?
Yes.
Who they have to – well, obviously, you've got to continue to make Al Horford work because he's really the true veteran guy. Rozier has killed them in Game 4.
Yeah.
He's run the offense. He's hit some big shots. He's playing with a great deal of confidence. They've had a hard time rattling him. And I'm wondering, do you put LeBron James on him like you had LeBron James on Darren Collison against the Pacers to try to slow him down? But then, obviously that moves George Hill over to Jason Tatum and JR on Jaylen Brown. I mean, so that's one thought is you can really disrupt them by messing with Terry Rozier. He had 11 assists in Game 4. He didn't shoot the ball great, but he hit some big shots in Game 4. So I think you really have to kind of start with the point guard. Now, obviously, you have to frustrate their main guy, and they have kind of 2 main guys or 3. Who's their go-to guy? You don't know. But their main weapons, obviously, are Brown, Tatum, and Horford.
Yeah.
But I think if you frustrate Rozier from the beginning and make him work defensively, go at him, and seek him out and get the ball to the guy. He's not a great defender. He's better than Kyrie, but he's smaller, and so I think if you can get him rattled a little bit, that and I don't mean like emotionally, but I mean kind of like, hey, he's not feeling very confident.
Yeah,
I think your chances increase. Now, obviously, they have more weapons to be concerned with than Rozier, but I think again, kind of starts with the head of the snake. If you can get him, get him off kilter, that disrupts everything they're trying to do. And he's been playing well, and he's been keeping them in games.
He has been playing very well for this entire playoffs. Kind of this revelation for the entire league is Scary Terry's playing really well and outplayed the Bucks and
outplayed Eric Bledsoe, who didn't. Yep. I never heard of the guy. Well, you know who he is now because
everyone knows who he is now.
Yeah.
So Game 5 prediction, Sam. What do you see happening on Wednesday night? The tip-off's at 8:30 ESPN. What do you see happening?
I think it's going to be close. I do. I really think it's going to be close. I don't think it's going to be easy, but I think that the Cavs' experience in these type of situations will carry them through, because I think that they're looking at it like it's a must-win, which they didn't in Indiana. When they went to Indiana for Game 6, they were like, we don't have to win here. We'll go, and it showed. But I think that there's a chance. There is a chance that the Cavs could go in there and clean their clocks. But I don't think that that's going to happen. And there's certainly a chance that Boston can win this game. I don't think that's going to happen. I think the Cavs are going to win. I think we're going to have a lot of Twitter anger from Cavs fans, getting frustrated and getting nervous and, at the end of the game, kind of justifying their points. But I think that LeBron James will carry them. I don't have a lot of faith in Kevin Love right now. I just don't. But I think that LeBron James and Tristan, and a huge key will be, can they get Kyle Korver going? Because you look at Game 2, Kyle Korver was going in the first half. He had a nice first half. Cavs had a halftime lead. He didn't do squat in the second half. He couldn't get open. Brad Stevens adjusted. We've got to stop Korver. They stopped Korver, and the Cavs lost the game. So I think that he's got to hit 3 or 4 shots, take 6 or 7, and make 3 or 4. And I think along with LeBron and, somebody else, I think that the Cavs can win this in a very close one. And I think they will. I really do.
Have you heard anything about Kevin Love when he took that nasty fall in the fourth when Morris tripped him on his shot?
He said he's okay. I think that he's got, ever since the shoulder surgery, his arm will get a little bit numb easily, and I think that's it falls. Kind of gets that feeling like it fell asleep for a second.
Gotcha.
So I think he's fine. I just you know what? Their lives would be so much easier if he comes to Boston and just plays one of those breakout big-time games where he's making shots, has one of those 25-point, 13-rebound games. If he does that, then that's all they'll need is him and LeBron. But I just don't have a lot of faith in him right now.
I think here's what I think is going to happen. I think LeBron is looking at the West, and he's saying, all right, the Warriors just dismantled the Rockets. They're up 2-1. And there's a very good possibility the Warriors won't lose again in the West. And I don't think he wants to extend this series any longer than it needs to be. And we saw in the Raptors series, hell hath no fury like a motivated LeBron for rest. and I just think I agree. I think he realizes that the Celtics' backs are against the wall, as crazy as that seems. And he smells blood, and he sees they're young. He knows they're rattled. I mean, Jason Tatum at the end of Game 4 pushed, I forget who over, just on a pick, and he tried to play it off like he got pushed.
Yeah, I think it was JR maybe. He just shoved him from behind. Yeah.
But I think
then he acted like he didn't.
Right.
Acted like he got fouled. It was ridiculous. Nobody even touched him before that.
Yeah, so I think he sees these rookies who are very easily on tilt. And I know they're at home, and Boston's a great home crowd, and that's probably worth 10 points or whatever. I know role players always play better at home, but I think the Bron smells water. And when we have the experience that the Cavs have, I'm right there with you. I think it's going to be a very similar game to Game 4, honestly. I think Celtics going to be hanging around. I think they might get a little closer just because the crowd will be going nuts. But I think the Cavs will win by 10.
Boston's a very emotional team, and that's a interesting prediction, by the way. Boston's a very emotional team, and those emotions can carry you, but they can also come back to bite you when the heat is on. And the heat is on now. LeBron and these other guys, Tristan, J.R. Smith, Kevin Love, these guys have been in these situations, and that should be their advantage when when in pressure situations.
If the Cavs win this game, Game 5, is it over?
Yeah, I think it's good. Here's my prediction: Cavs in 6.
Yep. So really quick before we close here, we touched on it very briefly. Western Conference, Warriors up 2-1. You see that having any drastic change of script, or is it really going to be for a fourth straight time Warriors Cavs, just like everyone thought at the beginning of the season?
Yeah, it should be. I mean, the Warriors, I don't see them losing another game in this series.
Yeah.
They're just not only are they, it would be a different story if Kevin Durant had not gone to Golden State. It would be a different story. Maybe Golden State, Houston could beat that Warriors team without Durant. The Cavs might even be able to beat that Warriors team without Durant. Maybe not, but maybe, but they just the deck is stacked. I mean, Durant shifted all the power to one team.
Yeah.
By going there, he could have gone anywhere else, and the league would have been more well balanced. But this team, okay, you throw Durant on a team that was already very talented, but the Warriors are extremely smart, and they play harder than any other team I've seen, even in the playoffs. Even the Celtics, they match the Celtics in their effort, and the Indiana Pacers in their effort. Yep. And they don't need to do that. They could take a night off and still probably beat some teams, but they don't do that. They play. Steve Kerr has had them, convinced them to play hard every night. And you know why? Because they're full of guys who love winning. They only want to win. And, look, as Cavs fans, I'm sure it makes you sick because the Cavs are so up and down in their effort. This team is not that way. And Houston is always – look, I'm sorry, but James Harden-led team is always primed for a meltdown. They are.
What, MVP James Harden? What?
Yeah. Yeah, I know. So they're just Harden's a great offensive player, great scorer, but phenomenal scorer. But I've never liked his game, and I don't think you can win championships if he's your number one guy. And look – James Harden's failure in big games goes back to when he was with the Thunder when they played the Heat. He was terrible in those finals. So, nice player, but probably not the guy you want leading you into battle.
Coach D'Antoni isn't worried. I don't know if you saw that. He's like zero worried about the being down 1.
It's because he knows it's over.
He's making peace with it already.
Yeah, right.
So my heart wants it to be more of a challenging series. My brain is like, no, it's not going to happen.
I'd be stunned if Houston wins another game. I'd be stunned, even game 5 at home.
Yeah, well, that does it for Cavs on the Break NBA podcast. Thank you all so much for downloading, for listening, for corresponding with us on Twitter. And thank you for checking out AmicoHoops.net and ProHoopsDigest.com. Do us a favor, subscribe, rate, and review our podcast on iTunes. It does help with the search algorithms and everything else. I see a couple of guys have already done that. Thank you so much. Let us know your thoughts. We'd love to hear from you. Also, make sure to give us a follow on Twitter at Cavs on the Break. Follow Sam on Twitter at Amico Hoops. Catch all of his work and writings at AmicoHoops.net and ProHoopsDigest.com. Sam, final thoughts.
Cavs in 6. Get a little bit of a break and get ready for the NBA Finals, man. Look, the Cavs could still lose this series. I don't say that with a great degree of confidence. But I do think that they will win this series, whether it be 6 or 7 games. I suspect 6. And, man, think about that, Cleveland fans. Just think about that. Don't think about, we're not going to be Golden State. Think about 4 straight championship contenders from a Cleveland sports team. That, to me, 3 in a row is awesome, but 4 in a row would be even better.
Yep. Well, finals start May 31st in Oakland. I'm going to say in Oakland. Mike Breen, we'll see you there. Mike Breen, take us out!
Congratulations, Cleveland. Your decades-long wait is finally over. The Cavaliers are NBA champions.